Since 2022, junior developer job postings have dropped by 30%. Your company's entry-level roles are being automated. Entry-level developer postings have dropped every quarter since 2022. Companies are not replacing those roles, they are automating them. I spent 5 months using Claude Code as my only coding partner. Over 30 Python files. A full production pipeline. 4 live channels. There is something specific about AI technology that most explanations get wrong. We will come back to it later. So I built a scorecard. 6 dimensions, graded on the same rubric I would use to evaluate a junior hire. The results were uncomfortable. One specific failure pattern kept repeating, and it reveals something about AI coding tools that benchmarks will never show you. There is a hidden cost to AI coding tools that goes beyond subscription fees. Keep this in mind as we review the scores. Before the scores, context matters for you. I am a senior front-end engineer, 12 years, React, Next.js, TypeScript, production code every day. 6 months ago, I decided to build something outside my comfort zone, a full video production pipeline. In Python, a language I did not write daily. 32 Python files, 10 production steps, 6 AI services wired together. Claude, Gemini, Imagen, Google TTs, FFmpeg, and YouTube API. Claude Code was my pair programmer for all of it. Imagine your own AI agent running in your terminal. Here is how I scored it. 6 dimensions. The same ones I use in real engineering interviews. Each one graded A through F. Dimension 1. Bug detection and diagnosis. Grade A-. My pipeline had a silent failure. When an image failed to generate, the system just skipped it. No error, no log. The final video had black frames, a nightmare for your production. I told Claude Code about the symptom. Within 90 seconds, it traced the root cause. A missing error handler 3 functions deep in the image pipeline, a problem you might have encountered. 11 root causes total, unbound variables, stale cache invalidation, silent file skips. Claude found every single one I described. A junior developer would have found maybe half of those in the same time. One junior told me, "I spent 3 days on a bug like that once, just tracing through files one by one." Claude had a structural advantage. It could read all 32 files simultaneously. Remember what I said about AI technology getting things wrong? Here is what I mean. It lacks true understanding of context and intent. The minus on that A. Claude sometimes proposed fixes for bugs that did not exist, phantom bugs, confident diagnoses of problems you never had. Dimension 2. Multi-file refactoring. A task you know can be painful. Grade A. I asked Claude to rename a core function across 7 files. Update all imports. Fix all references. Maintain backward compatibility. Done in under 2 minutes. 0 missed references. It even caught a string interpolation in a log message I forgot about. This is where Claude is unambiguously better than a junior developer. Mechanical precision across files. No typos, no forgotten imports, no merge conflicts you have to untangle. Adding shebang lines to 7 scripts. Restructuring imports after a module split. Updating config paths after a directory rename. All handled flawlessly, saving you hours. Dimension 3. Feature implementation from scratch. Grade B. I needed a humanized scoring system for scripts. 5 domains. AI fingerprint detection. Viewer engagement. Rhythm analysis. Story quality. Hook strength. Claude built the entire scoring engine in 1 session. Weighted rubric, pattern detection, fix recommendations, even a CLI interface to run it standalone. The B, not the A, because I had to redesign the architecture twice. When the first pass is just too much. Abstract base classes for a scoring function. Factory patterns for 5 categories. A junior developer might write simpler code on the first pass. Not because they are better architects. Because they do not know enough patterns to over-apply them, saving you headaches. Same pattern with fact grounding. I asked for a Google search verification layer. Claude added retry logic, caching, rate limiting, and a progress dashboard. I needed one function. The pattern is consistent. Claude executes well when you give it clear constraints. When you leave architecture decisions open, it defaults to Enterprise Java circa 2012. Dimension 4. Context and memory management. Grade. C+. This is where it gets ugly. Mid-session, Claude would lose track of decisions you made 10 minutes ago. You would say, use the existing function. It would write a new one. Hallucinated file paths. Referenced functions that did not exist in my codebase. Confidently suggested imports from packages I never installed. A junior developer does something Claude cannot. They walk to your desk and say, I am confused. Can you explain the architecture again? Claude never admits confusion. It fabricates. The Claude.md file helps. Project context files help. But they are a workaround for a fundamental limitation. The context window is a hard ceiling. In long sessions, I started repeating myself, restating constraints, re-explaining architecture. That overhead eats into your productivity gains from dimensions 1 and 2. Remember that hidden cost I mentioned earlier? Here's what I mean. The cognitive load of constantly auditing AI output is immense. Dimension 5. Code review quality. A critical skill you need. Grade B+. I started using Claude to review its own code. And code I wrote myself. It caught real issues. Missing error handlers. Race conditions in async functions. Unused imports. But it also flagged things that were not problems. Suggested adding type hints to a quick script. Recommended doc strings for internal helper functions nobody else would read, wasting your time. The signal-to-noise ratio matters. A junior developer learns what level of review you expect. Claude gives you the same corporate-grade thoroughness whether you are prototyping or shipping. Dimension 6. Cost per productive hour. Grade A+. The average junior developer in the United States costs around $73,000 a year. That is roughly $6,000 a month, a cost your company bears. Claude Code with a max subscription runs about $200 a month. That is 3% of the junior developer cost. 3%. Even if Claude is only half as productive as a junior developer, the math is brutal. You get 50% of the output at 3% of the cost. Back in 2024, a McKinsey survey found nearly 30% of companies expected to hire fewer juniors because of AI efficiency gains. By March 2026, those companies followed through. This is the number that keeps hiring managers up at night. Not because AI is better, because the economics no longer justify the headcount. Back to that failure pattern I mentioned, the one that repeats. Here is what benchmarks will never show you. Claude Opus 4.6 scores 79% on Swebench. Impressive on paper, but what does that mean for you? But in my pipeline, Claude kept making the same category of mistake. Not technical bugs, judgment errors. Decisions that required understanding why the code exists. Not just what it does. I asked it to fix a stale date reference. The script said 2024. We are in 2026. Claude's humanize fix reintroduced the exact same stale date. 3 times. It passed every validator I built. Word count, shot structure, hook quality, all green. But the content was wrong. Because no validator checks for temporal awareness, a junior developer reading that script would have caught it instantly. Your human sense of time would have flagged it. Models do not. They live in an eternal present tense. Final scorecard. Bug detection, A-. Refactoring, A. Feature implementation, B. Context management, C+. Code review, B+. Cost, A+. Overall verdict. Claude Code is not a junior developer replacement. It is a senior developer multiplier. And that distinction changes who should be worried. If you are a senior engineer who can review AI output critically, Claude makes you 3 times faster. That is not marketing. That is 5 months of daily measurement. If you are a junior who relies on AI to write code you cannot review, you are building on a foundation you cannot inspect. That is a career risk, not a shortcut. I once sat across from a hiring manager at a Series B startup. She told me they cut their junior cohort from 8 to 2, not because of layoffs, because 2 seniors with Claude code shipped more. 46% of all code written by active developers now comes from AI. 20 million developers use AI coding tools daily. These are not projections. These are current numbers. The question is not whether Claude Code can replace a junior developer. The question is whether your company still needs as many juniors when seniors are 3 times more productive. If you are early in your career, the path forward is not to avoid AI tools. It is to understand what they get wrong and why. That is the skill gap that matters. Every time Claude wrote code I could not evaluate, I was exposed. Not because the code was wrong, because I had no way to know if it was right. Academic research shows AI coding tools deliver 26 to 55% productivity improvement, but those gains depend heavily on one variable: whether the developer can actually review the output, because the multiplier only works if the human in the loop can catch the errors. The more you know, the more AI accelerates you. The less you know, the more it buries you. Can Claude Code replace a junior developer? Wrong question. It already changed what a junior developer needs to be. The junior developer of 2026 is not the junior developer of 2022. The ones who survive will be the ones who can audit the machine, not just operate it. If you found this useful, subscribe. I am publishing the full scorecard rubric in the description. Use it on your own AI tools. Test your own assumptions. Next week, the actual cost breakdown of running 4 AI-powered YouTube channels. Every AP I call, every dollar, no rounding.